bấm quay rồi.
Được quay rồi hả?
Kiểu đoạn ngắn đi.
Okay. Hi, this is Thảo Ngọc, and today is October 5th of week 2 of my final major project. Today I made of the mood board for brainstorming the ideas for the themes of my final major project. I have 5 main themes in general, and I try to brainstorm as much ideas as possible and try to connect them together. This is not finished yet, but this is like today's process. The first theme is design education, which is one of my favorite themes related to design, so I decided to explore this first. I first think of Vietnamese design education situation nowadays with like how it is taught now and how could it be improved in the future, and how could I as a designer and a design student, and in the future a design lecturer maybe, because I want to be a design lecturer, but how could I help with that? And I also think about design orientation for students who are interested in graphic design in general, and about a student creative confidence when studying design. These are some of the ideas related to design education that I read out. The second theme is art and design history. This is my favorite module when I study during my last 2 years here in CCP. The art historical module in the second term of first year. And I was really interested in the movements and the philosophy, the symbolism, semiotics, and design. And I really want to have a deeper look into that. Also, after learning that term, I kind of coming up with this relationship between three main elements in art and design history, which is the history itself, like this time itself, the artist and artwork, and the audience. They affect each other, and they have this kind of very connected relationship that leads to art and design history. And Richard also gave me another idea of alternative history, because usually what we are taught are modern European art history or design history, but what is happening in other places in the world, like in Asia or in Africa, or when design history moved to America, what is happening back in Europe, things like that. So I also combine design education and art history, like why should we learn art and design history? How could learning art and design history help with our creativity and our design work? And how should it be taught, and how should it be learned? Also, I reverse it and thinking about how was design, like how was education back then in history? How was design taught in history back then? Another thing that I think of is national versus international art and design history. This relate a little bit about alternative history, because I am from Vietnam, and I'm not from like a European country, which the design history usually based on. So maybe we have some comparison between like design, the history in, the design history that we are usually taught, and the history of design in my country, which is Vietnam. So that's the 2 theme. The third theme is about design theory. This is a theme that Richard kind of recommend, and I just have a deeper look at that, because I'm now teaching a course in design thinking, and I am doing some researches about this, and it sparked some questions of why design theory is the way it is today. Like, what was the historical development that leads to it? Also, there are another thing in design theory that I think really quite interesting, which is like the rule of third, and they explain why the rule of third work is how the human's eye work, like they usually leads like that, and that leads me to the questions of why it works like that, why human eye see things in that direction. Does it have anything to do with psychology or biology? So those are some of the questions that I have for this theme. So art and design history combined with design theory leads to the questions of the historical development of design theory that I just mentioned. The fourth theme is quite funny, is design plus love, because this is a fun observation when I watched design documentary, which is that usually designers are married to another designers like Massimo Vignali and his wife, or Paula Scher with her husband. That leads me to the questions of, is that like a trend? Are a designer attracted to, you know, other creative people, or does being in a relationship actually helpful with the designer, with like being creative and with their creativity, or with their workflow and with their basically, you know, being a designer? Does it help? And it also leads me to another question, which is why are most of, like, you know, in a couple, why are the husband usually more famous than the wives? And that leads me to another topic, which is feminism in design. Like, you know, why are the men more famous than the women? And feminism in design, at least it also relates to the fifth theme of the 5 theme that I've been researching on, which is issues in design. The other issues is ethics in design, but I haven't done much research about this yet. I found a documentary about this, but I haven't had the time to watch, so maybe I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so feminism in design. Richard really liked this idea, and I think I will try to do more researches about that. We have already learned about male gaze back in the first year, and I think it relates to this too. Richard has some suggestions about the history of art and design usually being a patriarchal history, and the history is written from the male point of view, so maybe it relates to why there are not so many female designers known nowadays and back in history. There are some other suggestions, which is the canons in design and in art history. This I haven't really understood yet, so maybe I'll ask Richard more in our tutorial. And I also link the feminism in design with the design history, like who are the female designers, the important female designers in history that we should know about, you know, alongside with the male designers. How to support feminism using design, or to reverse, how to support female designers nowadays. And yeah, I also write down the 2 names, 2 female designers I really like, which is Paula Scher and Ella Lupton. Ella Lupton is like a book author of design, and she's really cool. But about skills, we talk about some technical skills that we want to improve this term. I list out some skills that relate to branding, because I personally want to work in branding later on. I think that I'm quite suitable for that, so I want to learn more about motion theory and animations, and, you know, like applying to logos, for example. I want to learn to improve more my digital illustration skill on AI, you know, Adobe Illustrator. Or I'm really interested in the augmented reality effect that has been used a lot these days in exhibitions and stuff like that. So I think it's also really interesting to look into. And also web design, UI UX, because it's one of the products that usually branding has. For traditional skills, I would like to improve my drawings and storyboard blending skills. And and workflow. But Richard said I'm already good at that, so yay. Also, Richard said we should think of some ways of, you know, improving our skill, and I'm thinking of learning from Skillshare, self-learning, or doing the 1 art challenge, like the 1 art everyday challenge. But I doubt that, because we're quite busy now. But yeah, so that's it for today. This is Monday, October 5th. Update of my final major project. See ya tomorrow.